All right, good morning, and day 3 of the retreat. So, look, I'm slowly moving this direction, and you can see more of the cabin. This is really the only place I can do. I could do it in other places, but I get the best signal here. Well, I guess I don't really need a signal right now because I'm recording this and not doing live. But this table is the right height for me to do the video. Today I slept in, I set my clock for 7, but then I ended up not getting up till 8, which I said it takes me 2 hours. It takes me 2 hours, so I get up at 8, so I'm, getting back to the cabin by 10:30. But I walked down to the lake today, so you should have seen a little bit of my walk there. They do a really good job of keeping the trails groomed. There's been so much rain lately that as I walked through the trails, you could tell they came through, and they put a bunch of wood chips down to help with the mud. And I keep telling myself I should get some hiking boots. I have rain boots, which work, but hiking boots would really be better. Anyway, but it was kind of, I'm like juggling my coffee, my journal, the camera, also trying not to step in any poison ivy because the trails were a little bit overgrown. Normally it's not too bad, but I think this just maybe they're having trouble keeping up with all of the rain that we've had this year. So anyway, went down to the lake and sat there for a while, and the mosquitoes actually weren't too bad. Then I made my way up what is called the Power Line Trail, because it's the trail that follows the power line that runs through here. And got out, and then I came out into the meadow, and the mosquitoes were terrible in the meadow. So anyway, ran to the chapel. No, I didn't really run to the chapel, but I normally stroll a lot more slowly. Today, I think I'm going to just spend a bunch of time reading and just chillaxing, I guess. And then I'm going to write in this afternoon. My back is really sore, and I think it's from the bed. I'm used to, I sleep in a very hard bed, and this bed is kind of soft. So, and then of course, yesterday I did like 12,000 steps. So, walking through the trails and everything. So I think if I stretch out a little bit, I'll feel a little bit better. So I'm halfway through the week, and anyway, that's what I'm doing this morning. I will check in this evening, give you another little update. Nothing too major, really, I guess. No big revelations this morning, which is fine. It's not always about, retreats aren't always about having a major revelation. A lot of times they do come. A lot of times we do get pretty big revelations, mostly because we give the Spirit time to speak, and we've removed enough distractions where we can hear Him more clearly. So a lot of times we do have some epiphanies, right, or insight, some big insight. But that's not always the case. A lot of times it's really us just resting, being refreshed in our spirit, and going a little bit deeper in our relationship with God. So I wanted to share that because I don't want you to think that, hey, if you take 5 days away, you're going to have some, epiphany of, I'm supposed to go on a 7-day cruise and write the next Eat, Love, Pray. Like, that's not always what happens on retreats. I think that's probably the exception than the rule. But you do usually get some insights, and a lot of times it's just stuff that you didn't even expect. So kind of like the thing yesterday with that whole chapter not working, which actually was an answer to prayer, because one of the things that my intention was to come, like I wanted to work on that chapter because I felt like that chapter was the essence of this larger writing project that I'm doing, and that if I could, get that not necessarily finalize it, but finish it enough so that and give it 2 or 3 drafts, that it would determine the direction of the rest of the project. So in some ways, it really was a huge answer to prayer, because I realized that's not even supposed to be in there. So I'm working on this next. So I'm going to work on this chapter today about my friend Mike, which I talked about yesterday. And my relationship with Mike really, there was a major shift that took place in my philosophy of ministry. And so I think I want to work on that. And I'm wondering if maybe that story is going to shape the rest of the writing project. So we'll see. I hope I don't get down to the end of the day and it's like, no, that one's not supposed to be in there either. I'm just going to be like, what am I even doing? But I think it's going to be, I think that's where I'm supposed to go. I've avoided the chapter just because it is, it's tender to me. It's very meaningful and deep to me. But I need to tackle it. So that's what I'm going to do this afternoon. I'll check in tonight with a short little video, and yesterday's vlog, it was only like 13 minutes. So I'm hoping I'm trying to stick to that 12 to 15 minute rule. We'll see what happens, depending on what I get done and what happens. So. All right, it's coming on the end of day 3. Thank you so much for those who are praying for me. And I did spend this afternoon, a good chunk of this afternoon, working on a different section of this project. Scrapped all the stuff from yesterday. Much more successful day, and still kind of working on the ending part. I have a couple more paragraphs that I'm trying to finish up on this, but decided to go for a walk this evening and didn't get any video of walking. I just wanted to walk and listen to music and then sit in the chapel. So as I was sitting in the chapel, I felt like God kind of helped me bring this thing to an end. So I typed out a couple paragraphs on my phone, since I didn't bring a journal with me, and I will go and add them to that either tonight or first thing in the morning. It's exhausting. And then I'm working on and then I kind of got some other ideas for some other things I'm working on, writing projects I'm working on. So I typed up some notes for that. But it just felt good to bring that to a conclusion, so to speak, and move forward a little bit with it. Today felt like really long in a good way, but meditating on a couple of different verses. Yesterday, Jeremiah 18. Today, thinking about, there's a passage in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 22, and I think I'm actually going to reference it a little bit tomorrow in my, I've been doing verse by verse on our Devonair Community Church Facebook page, although the last couple of days I've been doing it on my own page because I'm just not getting a signal very well, so it's easier to do it on my own page. Anyway, Matthew chapter 22, the Sadducees come to Jesus and they're asking them, a woman has 8 different husbands. When she dies, who's her husband? And Jesus responds by saying, you are in error because you do not know the scriptures, nor do you know the power of God. That when people die, they won't be given in marriage. They will be like the angels. And so I'm kind of meditating on that because there's some theologians out there who say, a couple of ideas. Angels don't marry, and some scholars who suggest that angels don't actually have a gender. They're genderless beings. Also, they're not sexual beings. Like they don't reproduce. So why would there be a need for that? So there's a lot of people who kind of wrestle with that passage. So anyway, it's been that passage been on my mind because I'm like, sometimes that changes a whole lot. Like, think about that. Like, when there's a new heaven and a new earth, and when we die, we won't reproduce. Like, does that seem so foreign to think about? Well, my brain can't even get around that. Anyway, yeah, that's it. No more babies when there's a new heaven and a new earth. But then that seems contrary also. I don't know. I want to dig into that more. Anyway, that's why I've been thinking about it. It makes me want to dig into it more. It makes me want to really, what are these scholars saying about that? How does that all work? But does it even matter? Because it's not like I can do anything about it. I don't know. This is the weird, when you get to day 3 of your retreat, these are the things you think about. Talk to God about. Weird verses. And then the other verse that I kind of been meditating on today is Matthew 4:4, where this is when Jesus is in the wilderness and Satan says, if you really are the Son of Man, turn this stone into bread. And Jesus says, it is written, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. And then that word there also implies revelation. So every word in Revelation that comes from the mouth of God. And what does that even mean? I think it's bigger than we let on, this idea. It's not just about the written word, right? The Old Testament, the New Testament, the Psalms, the Proverbs. As much as it is that Jesus is the Word of God made flesh, and that we find our existence in Him. John chapter 1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. He is the light and the life of all humankind. So meditate. So anyway, that's what happens. You get to day 3, you start meditating on weird things. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just going to guess you probably don't meditate on this stuff. Maybe you do. If you do, post comments. I don't feel like such a weirdo. Anyway, that's all I have. There's a new episode of The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill. I don't know if you're listening to that podcast, but I'm going to listen to that tonight and do some more reading. That's going to kind of be the rest of my night, and I will see you tomorrow. I have a couple things in the morning that I have to do. They were already on my calendar, and so I'll probably do my video a little bit late because of that, or super, super early. Have a great